What's up, everybody? Thank you so much for tuning into this video. I've got a great one for you today because we are taking a look at the brand new 2021 Hyundai Tucson. Absolutely fantastic car. It has been fully redesigned for the 2022 model year, so we've got plenty of features to go over. I've got a ton of information for you guys, and really quick, I just want to thank Murdock Hyundai of Lindon here in Utah, which is the dealership that I work for letting me take this to the 5th floor of a parking garage of all places, just so I can get a good quiet video for you this time. So without further ado, we're going to talk about some things on this car. Stay tuned, you're not going to want to miss this one. Some interesting things to note about the 2022 model year are most notably the design. It has been fully redesigned with this brand new front grille, the headlight design, everything all the way back to the back. The tail lights are absolutely striking, gorgeous. In my opinion, this is where the controversy comes in, because originally the Tucson design wasn't very accepted. When the press first came out on this car, it was a little bit controversial. And in my opinion, even though I sell Hyundai, I had to agree. When I saw the press for this car, it was just not, it didn't seem like it was coming off the best. So I was a little bit hesitant, but seeing the car in person is bar none, 10 times better than what any press showed for this car. My favorite part, honestly, has to be the taillights. I absolutely love the design that they went for on these taillights. I think the light bar on the back with the two fangs on both sides is absolutely stunning. And I think that right there is one of the many things that just proves that the pictures really just don't do this car justice. It is absolutely beautiful to look at, and it's got all those amazing features as well. So I'm actually going to start back here with the headlights, or up here, excuse me. That was my fault. I don't know why I said that. But I'm going to start up here with these headlights. Now I know they're flashing or kind of flickering in the video, but I promise you they don't do that. This is just the video. But these right here are the daytime running lights for the car. You have your normal headlights and your high beams, everything is down here. But this is the new design for the headlights, and as much as I like it, it was a little bit controversial at first, and this was part of the problem that Hyundai was having when they first released press for the car, because the car itself looks really good. I mean, from this angle right here especially, I know I'm holding the camera up a little bit higher, but this angle right here, and when I switch around to make it just a little more normal, you can see that it almost looks like it should be there. And I know the car is running right now, so I've got the lights all turned on, but when they're not on, it kind of blends into the grille a little bit, so you don't even realize they're there. And I like that they did that and they didn't make it so obvious. And next, same thing, I want to just touch on these tail lights. These are probably my favorite part of the car itself, because the LED bar goes all the way across right there, and then you have both of these little fangs right here on the back of the car, and I just think that gives it a very special look. And that's not something that a lot of people go for. You get a lot of these family cars that have normal brake lights, and this is actually something that Hyundai is starting to do with all of their cars. You notice on the back of the Santa Fe, the new redesign for the Santa Fe for 2021, they're putting a light bar on the back of it too, and I think this is something that Hyundai is going to do for all of their cars. It's even on the Elantra as well. So keep an eye out for that, but I think this is a great look, and I really think it ties everything together. And since we're back here at the back tailgate, I'm going to show you this little trick right here. This is a power tailgate. You can press the button on the remote or in the car and it'll open right up. I actually really like that Hyundai is putting this in all of their SUVs now. I believe the new Kona is going to have it as well. Stay tuned for that to be specific, but I actually really like this because it gives you a chance to bring out your stuff and not have to fumble with your keys, open up your hatch. It makes it a little bit more easy to use, and I know a lot of high-end SUVs are going to be doing this, but I think it's nice that Hyundai includes it in their lower end in their lower end Tucson as well. You can actually get that feature, I think, on the third package up, which still makes this a great bargain. And it's something that I find really useful with my own personal car as well. Okay, so I know this might have been a little bit redundant, but before we move on into the interior, I have to show you probably one of my favorite party tricks that this car does. I'm going to show you on the key right here. You'll notice it's got these two buttons right here. Everything's pretty standard. You got your lock and unlock, you have your horn, your power lift gate, and your start. This does have remote start, which is awesome that this has it on the remote because it didn't used to. This is a new feature for 2022. However, these two buttons right here, this car has what Hyundai is calling Smart Park. This is what they are adding on to most, if not all, of their higher end vehicles. It started with the Sonata. They put it on the Santa Fe, and now it's on the Tucson. So, a couple of options if you feel like the Tucson's not your cup of tea. But let me show you how it works. We're gonna start the car with the remote start right there. Now, there's this first one that has a forward arrow or an up arrow, and one that has a down arrow. If I hold this button right here, the car drives itself. There is nobody in the car right now, and it's driving itself. I absolutely think that is awesome. And when you release your hand off the button, it will stop. Nice thing is, you press the down arrow, and the same thing, it goes backwards. It can go backwards. Now, I think, honestly, this is my favorite feature of this whole car, and I'll tell you why. My biggest reason for liking this feature is pulling the car out of a parking space or your garage. Me, personally, I have this on my Santa Fe that I have at home. This feature has saved me so many times. My wife parks next to me a little bit too close. I can't get in, so I open the garage and I pull the car out in order for me to get in. It is absolutely fantastic, and I've used this half a dozen times just this week going shopping. I go to Walmart or I go to Costco, some big brand store, and I find that somebody is parked a little bit too close to me. This is a fantastic feature to get out. So now we're going to move on to the features of the interior of the car. And I know there weren't a ton of features on the outside. It was mostly looks, but I think you're going to really like what the Tucson has to offer on the inside. Now, the first thing I want to point out is I'm not a small guy. I am actually quite large. You know, I tell myself that I'm small every day, but that's not the point. Physically, I am pretty large. And in the passenger seat, I'm actually very comfortable. I could even move my seat down a little bit if I wanted to. This is a power seat, and I have tons of headroom available, and a lot of it helps with this panoramic sunroof above me. But I'm just going to talk about some of the things that you'll find on here. And the first thing that you notice when you get into the Tucson is the shifter. This is a brand new shifter that Hyundai is putting in most of their cars. They put it in the Palisade originally, and they put it in the Santa Fe next. Now it's in the Tucson. It was also in the Sonata, still is, but now new for the 2022 model year, this is in the Tucson. And I think this is actually very smart because it opens up all of the space right here, makes it very easy to know where everything is, and that way you don't have a lot of stuff in your way. It just opens up the car. And right above that, you'll see your controls for a few different things. You'll see the heated and cooled seats to the left and the right. That's for the front passengers, the driver and the passenger. This car also has rear heated seats as well, which is something you wouldn't normally find unless you were in a very high-end car. So having something like that in a Hyundai Tucson is absolutely fantastic. You also find your heated steering wheel, which this obviously does have a steering wheel. That's dumb. That's a dumb joke. I apologize about that. You also have your downhill descent control, which controls the brakes to make sure you're not going too fast down a rocky hill. You also have your parking sensor button to turn them on and off. And then you have one of my personal favorite features, aside from that Smart Park, that I probably use on a pretty daily basis, and that is the view button. Now what this does is you press this button and it will pull up the cameras, this has a 360 camera system around the whole car. This actually pulls up the cameras while you're driving at slow speeds for parking lots specifically. So while you're pulling into a parking space in a crowded parking lot, on the right side of the screen, you'll be able to see the lines that you're pulling into, which I think is super helpful. I think is very easy, and it's going to help people park that much better in crowded parking lots, which I know if you're anything like me, pulling into a parking space when there's tons of people, I typically don't do because I'm very careful with my cars. I'm the kind of person to park in the back of the parking lot, but I still don't want to be a douche about it. So I try and park really well in the back of the parking lot. This is going to help a ton of people just line up a little bit straighter in those parking spaces. Next, we'll move on to what is probably the biggest change aside from looks in this Tucson for 2022, and that is this center display. Everything on this display is a touchscreen. Everything on here is just a haptic feedback button that you press lightly with a tap of your finger, and it does what it's going to do. This does not have normal buttons to control the climate control or to control the screen for your infotainment system. Next, I'm going to jump over to the driver's seat and talk to you about a few more features on this side of the car. Now, this has all of your standard safety features, like your lane keep assist, which steers you in the lane. Nice to have an extra set of eyes on the road while you're driving, either to work or on a long distance road trip. You have your smart cruise control, which keeps you the same distance between you and the car in front of you. As well as some other buttons around here that control some of the general features of the car. But the biggest change to the Tucson over here is going to be this display. This is a brand new 10.25-inch display that Hyundai is now putting in all of their cars, and I absolutely love it. I think it gives it a very high-end look to the car. I think it's very nice to see all this digital technology that you'd normally find in a lot of cars. I believe Audi was the first car to really standardize a digital display, and now Hyundai is adopting that feature as well. I think it's absolutely fantastic, and one of my favorite things about these displays is Hyundai's doing this for all of their cars. When you have the digital display, you have down here next to your shifter a drive mode button, and you can cycle between a couple of different features. You have normal, sport, smart, and snow. And if you notice on that sport mode, it changes everything to like a red and carbon fiber, really sporty. A couple of things that I didn't get to mention is this, for 2022, Hyundai has released a hybrid. Yes, a hybrid Tucson. A lot of people have been asking for this. So not only can you get the Santa Fe in a gas motor or a hybrid, you can get the Tucson in a hybrid as well. This one behind me is just a normal gas motor. You're going to get about 30 miles to the gallon in this one with the 2.5 liter engine that Hyundai's put in here, about 190 horsepower, and it's actually enough power for this car in my opinion. This isn't meant to be a super fast car, but it actually has some get up and go to it. It's not like the last one with the smaller 2-liter engine that just felt gutless. This one has plenty of power for the car for what it's supposed to be. However, if you go to the hybrid model, you can get up to 40 miles a gallon in an SUV that you can throw the kids in, go to soccer practice, go on a road trip, anywhere. And in the limited trim of the hybrid, you get all of the same features for about the same price. That is probably the most amazing thing that Hyundai has done with the hybrid models, is they've kept them relatively the same price. So you have a choice whether you want to go for just a gas motor, or if you want to jump into the future, because everything is going hybrid nowadays, you can choose the hybrid motor, and that is a 1.6 liter turbo with the extra electric power. And it's really nice because not a lot of hybrids offer a turbo with that gas motor. So that one is going to get you a little bit of pep, even though it's a hybrid, which means it's still fun to drive. You get great fuel economy, and with only a 14-gallon tank in these, you're not going to be spending a lot of money at the pumps. So keep that in mind. You can either go for a gas motor, or you can go the hybrid option, which in my opinion, for the same money, definitely the way to go. So with that out of the way, I'm gonna jump in. We're gonna take this for a drive. I'm gonna give it some gas right here. And that's what I like, is it's not fast by any means. Like I've driven fast cars, I own quick cars, but this isn't meant to be quick. It's not meant to be the fastest car on the road. This is meant to be comfortable, good gas mileage, things like that. I'm actually going to open this up to give myself a little bit more light. We're going to turn over here, and like I said, I apologize for having the steering wheel in the way. I will change that next time. But I love the interior, and one thing I love about what Hyundai did with this display right here is everything seems to have dropped. In the previous Tucson, like I said, I didn't really feel like I fit very well. In this one, I'm totally fine. You know, I've got my shifter over here. I'm not wondering where I should put my hand. I've got plenty of places that I could, but I have plenty of room over here, and I really feel like they've done a good job with the space in here. It's roughly the same size, maybe a little bit bigger overall as the 2021, but in here it feels like everything is just a little bit more open, and I don't know what they did. I don't know how they did it, but it feels like the dash is just a little bit lower. It feels like with the shifter gone, everything is just available, and it's so easy to find everything. You know, my first thought, especially with this screen on here, it just seemed like it was going to be difficult. You know, I have to kind of fumble through everything, but once you really pick up on where things are, it's actually not that hard. It's not that difficult to just, you know, turn up the volume, you know, turn down the volume, you know, turn it off, change the climate controls over here. It's actually super simple, and I think that is I think that's fantastic. And a lot of people, when cars change to the buttons just for the transmissions, you know, a lot of times I tell them, hey, you'll get used to it. You drive it every now and then, and it's something that becomes second nature to you. And I think that that touch interface is going to be the same story. But something I actually totally forgot to talk about is this car has what they call blind view monitors. Hyundai calls it blind view monitors, and originally I thought it was the blind spot little emblems on the mirrors. But no, this car actually has camera, like it uses the 360 camera. When you put your blinker on, say I'll put the left one on right now, it puts that camera it displays the image onto the dash so that you can see if someone's in your blind spot. It makes it so easy for people with a little bit more limited movement. And then I'll put the right one on right now just to show you can see that nobody's in my blind spot. They're a little bit farther, so I can go ahead and get over. And just to round out my thoughts again on this car, it's so comfortable. It's miles better than the 2021. The features are just fantastic. I absolutely love the feel of the car. I love driving it, and I love how small it is too. Like I mentioned, the comfort level in the old one used to be you had to pick between a sporty ride and a comfortable ride, and it's just not the case anymore. It's a little bit more refined. It's so much better and just on another level than what it used to be. And I think this is really going to bring a lot of attention to Hyundai, not only because of how well they did on this car, but because of how easy it was to drive and how comfortable it was. Like, honestly, this car is awesome. And I'll pull up the camera view right here, and I see that I'm too far away, but I'm inside the lines. And I just think what they're doing is just putting themselves into that next, bracket almost. And so this really is going to be phenomenal. And I think people are going to absolutely love driving this. So I'm going to finish this video inside the car because I've got a very loud highway right there. But just to round off everything about this car, it's probably one of my favorites. I absolutely love the feel of this car, and I know most of the drive was me just talking about it, frankly. But I really do feel like Hyundai has stepped it up with this car. So that being said, thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment. And as always, my contact info is going to be in the description of this video. So if you guys would like, feel free to give us a call, give the dealership a call, and remember, #AskForBrad.